So, welcome everybody to this beautiful group that we are starting right now. It's a really the vision for this group. It was, as I said, is it's powerful yet simple, and it's to raise the vibrational frequency of the collective, foster unity between all of us. Because Mabato and I had this conversation. We were talking about unity and how important it is through all walks of life, through all places, and especially with all of us healers as well. And it's to offer support to those that are embarking on their spiritual journey and are seeking guidance, regardless of where they are in their path. And I started noticing that that's a lot of sometimes what we're going through is what shows up for us with our clients as well. So in these sessions, what I really, really wanted to do is create a sacred dialogue, look at each and every one of us, who we are in the world, how we're here to support the world, where we are, so that if people wanted to connect to us, they can absolutely. I'll put everybody's details and bios underneath these, and then eventually I'd like to go live with these and allow for open dialogue and questions with people where we can support live from all of our different perspectives as well. So, really creating a sacred space and a gathering of us. And I've handpicked all of you leaders because I think you walk your talk, which is important. And you really are here I believe you really are here to bring in unity and raise the frequency. And you've all spoken from the heart, which is so important. And yeah, so I think we will begin. And I'm just going to ask Mabatu if you could do a quick introduction of who you are in this world, where you are in this world, and what you do.
So I'm Mabato Montse. I am currently stationed in Pretoria, Tshwane, South Africa. I am an initiated healer into the Nguni traditions of Ubungoma. Um, Healing has always been in my lineage, particularly my maternal lineage, and leadership is very strong in my paternal bloodline. Um, and when my journey started in 2021, in terms of the actual initiation, I think my journey started many years before I even became aware that I was on a journey. I then started wanting to understand a bit more about, firstly, my physical experiences, and to also understand at a psychological and spiritual level what it means when I go into a trance, what it means to have a calling. Coming from a family of healers, I felt called to imagine what being a Sangoma might mean for me, as well as my lineages and my role in the world. And so I embarked on doctoral research, looking into what ancestral trauma actually is, what decolonization means for me, and how that can be applied to the collective. I am a podcast producer and host, Conscious Conversations. I was actually busy now with planning season 4, which is really aimed at giving people the tools that have helped me navigate my journey. I find that a lot of the time, how healing is spoken about in the world generally tends to be so abstract. And so, through my work, which is very transdisciplinary, looking at how I can reframe education, because education has been such an instrumental tool in shaping minds and ways of being in the world. And so, using my podcast as a multimedia transdisciplinary platform of re educating, of creating community, and really sharing what has helped me. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That's stunning. Thank you so much. John, tell us a little bit about you.
Hello. And first of all, thank you, Natasha. I just have this really beautiful feeling about what you're creating here. and it feels like the start of something very magical that goes on for many, many years. So it's such an honor to be here right at the start. It's at the first step is the most exciting, right? So yeah, as it says on my hoodie, I'm John Binnie. Oh, and it also says raising vibes.
Excellent.
So I am based in Scotland. I live quite close to Natasha, about 30 miles away, and I have just a year ago I left my software engineering career, 26 years, and the last 8 years was at Amazon as a senior software manager in corporate, leading the artificial intelligence development and for recruitment. And that was fascinating because in 2017 I went through an awakening. I started meditating each day, talking to spirit guides, writing loads of songs, and then after 2 or 3 years, I started learning on the job, as I describe it, what I now call today quantum psychic energy healing. Um, and I never really trained in any energy healing, but I just love doing it. Past life regressions, soul retrievals, exorcisms, energy clearing, helping people activate their psychic abilities, teaching psychic abilities, and many more things. Um, and in the last year, since I left my corporate job, started my own business doing this work full time, and it's now expanded out to some. I've been learning for the first time things like I qualified in clinical reflexology, Swedish massage, and Indian head massage. And those modalities I blended with psychic readings and also uh, quantum energy healing. And that I love that innovation. It's really exciting. But the my mission is very much aligned with some of the things that Natasha was describing. Like my mission is very much to help raise the vibrations of billions of hearts, to help people across the world to balance, like find our right balance and harmony of our darkness and our light within all of us and across the planet. And by doing so, like helping people on their awakening journeys. I also do a load of other things, probably too much, but it includes I have a membership group and then also develop training courses teaching what I do. I have 3 training courses, foundational, intermediate, and advanced for those. And my idea is not to just do it all myself, but to teach others to go off and do some of those things themselves. And in fact, Natasha and I were on a podcast with Chloe today, Chloe Rose, who's one of my students who just finished one of my training courses. So just helping, I know I can't do it all myself, and it's lovely to have so many bookings now and have got over that hurdle of will this be viable? And now I'm like, now Natasha and this work's helped me reflect on, okay, who am I next? Because I feel like every day, every month, I need to keep getting expanding my consciousness so that I can not do more but help more people, maybe do less and help more people. So yeah, that's me.
Beautiful. Thank you, John. We do have a few others that weren't able to make it today, and hopefully they'll be on next time. But for me, so my name is Natasha Rocha. I'm Portuguese, born in South Africa. Fifth generation that's been into spirituality. Yeah, my grandfather held an underground school in Mozambique, where it was back in the old days when they used to do actual seances. Like, is there a spirit in the room? And you'd hear it tap, and then it'd be like, please confirm, and you'd hear it tap again. And then they did all sorts of things like that. And they did a lot of studies and absolutely beautiful. Growing up in South Africa and the energy of South Africa, there is always I think we got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of spirituality, the 50 shades of spirituality. And it was so funny because it was 2 people in one day that said to me, Natasha, you're one of the few practitioners, and perhaps maybe that is something we can talk about today. I would love to hear your viewpoints in that. They said, you're one of the few practitioners that sees the good, the bad, you see all the shades of spirituality. And I found that to be quite interesting in that sense. And I fell deeply into that. My mission is to help empower people, to give them the tools to do their own healing, to do their own understanding, and really to expand their consciousness. Again, raising the vibes is a huge one for me. And lately, my calling is shifting where yes, absolutely. I'm still focusing on healing. So I did a Reiki master, craniosacral therapy, and I'm an Akashic practitioner as well. But we do a lot of somatic emotional releasing, and I've started to realize how all of that is absolutely connected. So absolutely looking at, okay, so when we do release an attachment or a spirit, what is it attached to? And a lot of the times it's a unhealed frequency within ourselves that actually needs to be healed, which is absolutely beautiful. And we start to see how the light and the dark start to work together in some forms where it's supported us in one way or another, which is why it's there and then it's released. So my spirituality has grown. I know that my knowledge is growing, and I know that I never fixed onto anything because I know we're always looking for the latest information of consciousness that we're ready for as well. And yeah, my mission is to empower people, and I'm pivoting at the moment into really starting to help business CEOs to really learn how to access the life and the blueprint of their businesses and really start to activate mindful leadership. Like John and I's podcast together is all about mindful leadership. And then I'm on another podcast which is all about conscious health. So really starting to support those, because in today's podcast that actually came up for us, John, is as well as that our limits need to be healed as CEOs, as people, as leaders. So we're constantly doing this healing, which is important. What are your thoughts about or on the 50 shades of spirituality?
That is something very interesting and something I work with at different levels because I think the mind is a beautiful resource, but a horrible master, right? And as we know, how we perceive things, how we understand things has a lot to do with how our mind has been conditioned. And I find that a lot of the time, not many spiritual guides or practitioners are able to bring that holistic perspective around the mind and how the mind relates to our ability to co-create. Because when our thoughts are not aligned with our emotions and the feeling that comes from that, it becomes very challenging to transcend or overcome our limitations. And I strongly believe, we create our realities. In the
Yeah,
context of South Africa and just how empire and white supremacy have conditioned people, this internalized oppression, that I think both indigenous or non-European people and indigenous people suffer from. I think the what we are battling with as a global society is on both ends, and it speaks to that dark and light, right? And I'm not saying any race is dark
no, no, no.
or light, but how we see ourselves and how we translate reality is very
Mm-hmm.
misconstrued, and I think that has a lot to do with the mind before it even has to do with our emotions. I'm a strong believer in the big mind and the small mind, and the fact that the thoughts we think come from a collective consciousness. And so helping people understand the power they have by helping them tune into how their mind works and some of the stories they're telling themselves and they have been conditioned to think, or to believe. And so that's how I think about duality. I think it's actually this morning when I was thinking about how, people's behaviors towards us has got nothing to do with us a lot of the time, but how we respond to that
Mm-hmm.
gives us a beautiful opportunity to think about who we are and where we are at and who we aspire to be. I'm not sure if that gives you my sense around this duality we are experiencing.
Absolutely. And you, John, what are your thoughts and your perceptions?
Yeah, so the 50 Shades of Spirituality. Um, my journey doing work for clients about 4 or 5 years ago now just started as a hobby. I started in the dark. So I started in what I called like negative energy clearing, entity clearing, and helping people undergoing demonic attacks or attempted possessions or possessions. And and what fascinated me about that start of that journey is I didn't fully understand why I'd been brought into that and also why I seemed so good at it. And it seemed that I needed to remove that constraint. And I still do a little bit of that work now. It's maybe 10 or 15% of my sessions, but it that's the breadth of the spectrum is really important for me because I feel like I would just be here. I'd be like the kind of John roughly matching vibration all the time if I only ever focus in the area. And I also really resonate with this saying, I can't remember who said it, which is that all the demons I face are of my own making. And I
Yeah.
really resonate with that. I resonate with a unity of this planet where all of us have the same spectrum of our low vibration to high vibration, our dark to
Mhm.
light, and and that it's in our unity that we find this truth, right? That we find that we're all just as evil and just as heavenly as each other, but it's our behaviors in every moment that choose that choice about where the frequency is of where our hearts, our thoughts, our actions are. Um, and yeah, it's definitely a theme. This seems to be a big struggle for us globally, right? To accept that, that it there's there's this encouragement for both us on this planet and our galactic brothers and sisters around the universe, encouraging us to step into our full spectrum. And at the same time, we're battling against duality, divisiveness, trying to split us up into lots of little, fearful of each other groups. So yeah, I feel excited that that's one of your first questions, Natasha, is like just helping us, bring together um, all of these aspects, all of these frequencies, and never to to be inclusive of all, and never to just isolate and say everything except for that, because I think that's where where our whole our whole human race ended up with so many problems is through that the silos and divisions we've created between ourselves.
Absolutely, and I resonate with both of you for sure with that, and I agree. It's of our own making, and that's quite funny because that's how I define karma. What people do to us is their karma. How we respond, we're creating our own, which is that as well. And absolutely, all of our demons are of our own making, and perhaps even our shadow aspect is showing up. And I find that within healers, and I think this is where it's come from. Is there's a lot in the spiritual community that I'm finding is there's a sense of always needing to keep our vibration high, and we can't feel negative emotions, and we can't have all this shadow aspect of us. And I call it spiritual bypassing, or at least I noticed that kind of like I mean, I've just recently moved back to Scotland. So a lot of the time when I was in Canada and a lot of practitioners I was working with, I'd start seeing people not wanting to go into their heavy emotions because it was a low vibration. And it's like, absolutely not. Feel those feelings 100%, be in your body, release it. These are your demons. Like really go into that, express them 100% and then let them go. Right? Because that ends up creating that trauma. It's that unhealed trauma that we suppress in our bodies, um, and those need to surface somehow. And sometimes they do end up showing up as that for us. And I love that it's embracing all sides of us is important. The 50 Shades of Who We Are, like you were saying, Johns, is completely embracing. Um, those aspects, because the shadow aspects of us need more love, not less, a lot of the times, because they've been absolutely hurt and traumatized and trying to keeping themselves safe, which I find so important. And once we step away from the duality, we start seeing sometimes how one actually supports the other. I hit this rock bottom, so now it allowed me to surface from that, or rise from that, or I've explored that theme that I no longer wish to explore anymore, but I needed to explore it to its nth degree before I realized that I don't want that anymore. And that kind of like brings us into that cycle of rebirthing, as well, that I've been finding. And even within myself, it's like constantly looking at, where are my limitations? What is the limiting thought process? We are also constantly healing so that we're able to hold more space for other people. So I think it's important to dive into that completely as well, not be crippled by it, but it's like almost kind of like moving through it. And a lot of the times I've gotten from the Akashic Records, it's like, you see it, you recognize it, don't judge it, don't beat yourself up for it. You recognize it, it served you up to a certain point. Just change your actions moving forward. Absolutely, there's work that needs to be done, forgiveness, gratitude, and a whole bunch. But it's like, don't get stuck there. It's because we end up re-traumatizing. I find we end up re-traumatizing the body. So it's like, okay, accept it, embrace it, and let's move on from it. But it's changing our actions, our thought patterns, our emotions that then get changed as we move forward. At least that's my perception. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, so I resonate with what you've both said. I love Rilke, who says, "If my devils were to leave me, I'm afraid my angels will take flight as well." And it
I love
speaks
that.
to this idea of how the shadow parts of us are what actually give us the opportunity to grow, right? And in my work, because I do a lot of shadow work, I often find that the things we reject most about ourselves are what have the opportunity or the potential to help us grow a lot, right? So, and this is one of the things I feel like sometimes I struggle with. People are at different levels of their spiritual journey, even cycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And explaining certain things might depend on where the person is in their spiritual journey as a soul, right? So when one speaks about past lifetimes and people's experiences, that would influence what they're experiencing now in this lifetime and the density of the challenges they need to overcome. And I think this is where our ability to take responsibility for the lives we have chosen, and this what I'm saying, this statement, I think it depends on where a person is in their spiritual understanding. Like
Mm-hmm.
if one is having a conversation with a client who does not know about reincarnation or past lives, speaking about their own evolution as a spirit from that context might be a bit confusing. And
Mm-hmm.
so finding the right language for me has become so important to help people step out of the victimhood mode. But at the same time, understanding that the world as it is right now is distorting what reality is, like, and I feel that many spiritual practitioners struggle with balancing this. Yes, we are not victims in all of this, but at the same time, there is this reality that requires us to be in service of light. And it means either being an activist, creating communities, doing the healing work, and speaking out against injustice. And so the work is so multi-dimensional and
Mm-hmm.
multifaceted. And it's always interesting for me how I'm able to hold space for people at different emotional states, psychological, meaning intellectual, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes a difference in our ability as healers to raise this collective consciousness. I feel like a lot of these conversations are had at particular segments of society. And when we look at what we might call poor people, that is where the work most needs to be done to elevate the consciousness of people. And I find there's a gap in the world, and getting this information there, because I don't like using the word poor, but people who are less privileged and less educated are the ones I believe need the most support in terms of elevating their understanding of themselves, because it means they would not accept certain things in their lives. So, yeah, I think that's where the biggest work needs to be done.
What are your thoughts, John?
Um, I'm just pausing because I know I talk a lot. um, yeah, I like when just going back to the point about with you mentioned briefly like spiritual bypassing. There, without a doubt, the darkness is like infiltrating like spirituality, and I actually feel good about it. Right, I think it's good that it happens because it has to happen. It can, spirituality can't be separate. It is everything, right? Everything is spiritual,
Yeah.
and that as it happens, where it's an opportunity for all of us to discern, for every single person to see the differences between to try and get better at detecting the intention behind what people are doing for each other,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's helpful or not, or helpful for them or not. And I think it also helps like do gradually there'll be no hopefully there'll be no such thing as spirituality one day. There'll be no such thing as light workers. We'll just all be people together, and the labels will gently fall apart. They'll dissolve as we become more into
Mm-hmm.
unity. um and and I really love that. I felt a lot that like this clearly there's a huge fear, like still most of my software engineering career and now my uh spiritual mentor and psychic mentor career is helping people in the US and Canada, and it's still about 90% dominated by the US and Canada. And there's, whilst I have other clients around the world and some here in the UK, there's this fear that is being cultivated. It's being like we're being farmed for our fear right around the world. And people are really struggling to let go of a clearly like I my view is it's failing and falling apart, and I can see how it's traumatic for people to witness that because they feel that all the things that are dear to them, their loved ones, their towns, their cities, their countries are at risk and dissolving in front of their very eyes. And I also see that has it's traumatic and it's difficult for people, but some people are choosing that. Some people have either voted for that in their country, or they've decided that they think that path is whatever. Let's just give it a go. Let's see what happens. Or they actually they choose that. And I feel that's also important to acknowledge that everyone gets to choose. If they choose fear, that's their soul's got to go through that. That's I've been
Mm-hmm.
in fear most of my life, and now I'm not so much in it, and because I don't choose that anymore. And then I also see this new higher vibration, fifth dimensional Earth that we're co-creating together, and like Natasha bringing us together here feels so good because it feels like the first strands we're starting to build and connect together in ways that are so new. And one of the big things that I learned this year since starting my business is I didn't think I was that constrained, that I didn't think I had that many constraints programmed into me. And yet, the very first thing when I first started my business is I was guided to go back to my childhood. The first place I remember growing up, about 3 years old, and I spent a few days there camping. And I was taken back to remember who I was before I entered the schooling system and began my schooling and programming. And now here I am again a year later, going about to go back on a road trip and go and visit lots of different places. And I'm starting to see that I still have work to remove. and unconstrain myself. I still, um, repeat patterns of the a world I want to let go, and I want to take what serves and let go what doesn't. Um, and I think it's so key also on that journey to help, like, to the point of bringing language and integration and like fully allowing all these incredible concepts and terms to be useful to humans day to day and empowering, and never to be something like, oh, you don't know about the fifth dimensional world, oh, you're not going. It's like, no, that's not
Hmm.
true. And that we all get to choose what we believe, I think, is so powerful. And yeah, I feel that's been a big theme for me as well, is like being, that's why my hands-on work is important to me, so I'm not just floating around on Zoom calls for the rest of my life. That I do meet with people, and that I, can talk to them in a way that's helpful for their lives and getting through the many challenges that we all face.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with both of you, because that holding space for where people are in their journey is what gives us the compassion. Not only that, I feel it's a respect for where that person is going. And a lot of the times I talk about, it's one of the misconceptions that I had when I first started on this healing journey, is that I wanted to heal everybody. And now that I've started, or everybody that I connected with, and then I started to realize that the true healing and the true way that I can support people is to not push them ahead, but to walk beside them and to have compassion in their journey and support them through their journey as well. And it became very, very, because it's you start to then go, why is this person not healed, why is this person not healed? And I've tried so hard, and it's really, it wasn't about, I was still making it about me. And it had nothing to do with me. It was really about walking beside and doing my own healing, so that I would be able to support more bandwidth, and hold space for that. And then also learning that things are constantly changing, and my ideas are constantly updating, and my beliefs are constantly updating, as I do my internal healing. And I think that's absolutely important, is to hold space and to understand that those souls have chosen to go through what they're going through as part of their own soul's evolution as well. And it was so interesting, because I had, on one of my lives, one of the questions that one of the people came in and asked us, they were like so distraught with what was happening in the Ukraine and in Russia, and the injustices of it. And the messages that came through is, what is the injustice that is surfacing within you? Because it really is a reflection of what you're going through. If you're triggered within you, the healing needs to be happening within you, because we need to respect that those souls, that collective, is going through what they've wanted to go through, and everybody is exactly where they need to be at the time that they are. So it was really kind of like, what is that reflection, that you know where does that internally? We need to look at it within ourselves as well. But it's like you both say, it's like walking beside and holding that space, and knowing that really we're holding that frequency for healing, and it's up to that person to match it. They're ready for it, they've come to it, but it's however it is taken is entirely up to them, and respecting that and how we walk beside them, which is important. And perhaps showing those, and this is what I'm hoping in bringing unity here is, and this is what I find so beautiful, because we're looking at people that are just beginning their journey and connecting out with us. We're looking at supporting the children, the youth, the youngsters, the, like, I mean, supporting them and empowering them before they get that, all that programming that limits them. If we look at a child, like, and that's one of the things I found, is like, they absolutely love and accept themselves fully, completely. They feel their feelings 100%, and they let it go. They forget about it. They fight with their friends one day, 5 minutes later they're friends again. They've forgotten about everything. They teach us so much when it comes to that, and I find that absolutely beautiful. And somewhere along the line we start to become, I don't know, it's the trauma, the themes we've chosen to experience in this life, I suppose, that activate who we are, that the traumas, I suppose, like our soul wants to experience, so that we can then help others. Because I don't think anybody escapes this planet or lifetime without trauma. I seriously, this is what it's what helps us grow. You know, when the body's suffering, the soul is growing in one way or another. That they're saying, or you're becoming the hero that you need to become, that you need at that time. Um, so I find that very important. So it's lovely that we're all hitting people, and I'm like, no, I need to make because changes to the people at the top as well. So it's amazing that we're getting called to really raise the vibration, bring in the understanding, and I'm starting to see why we've come through as a collective, because I think our passion, our purpose to bring in unity is hitting on all different sides, right? From the big corporates, the government, people that are just starting off, and then the kids. A lot of us will have that. I know for sure that Maria wasn't able to join us. She's doing a lot of speaking with the youth out in Toronto and the Indigenous sides over there as well, and teaching them how their body, and that's okay, their spirituality, and reminding them who they are as well. So I think the two of you, Mabato and Maria, will have some amazing conversations as well. But I'm loving that this group, we're actually hitting things from a very different perspective, which is absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to see the real reasons why we are coming together. Did you have any perspectives, any hits on why this group is coming together?
I saw, well, I was immediately told, I think I said to Natasha that it's the start of the Earth Council, or the kind of the the equivalent of the Galactic Federation on Earth. So it is the start of a beautiful journey. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's like my throat chakra. It's like speak, John, speak. But yeah, an Earth Council, like representing Earth, and I that is a fascinating concept, right? Because many people around the world still believe that it is their government that they have either elected, or their dictator, or whoever's supposedly in charge leads them. And I think for many, especially what we see in the US, where I've done about 200 sessions in the last 4 months, mostly people between the age of 60 and 89, and definitely like most averaging around 70, 75. And they're they're releasing that. They're thinking, actually, I think I might be in charge. I don't think it is the leader or leaders. Um, and then they're realizing that they want to find a life purpose. And I love, the idea that a council, a federation, a panel, a group of people, a unity that can come together and start to represent, more of us. We're all going through different awakenings at different times and different ages and different cultures, all around the world. And any way of bringing people together to have a voice to share is a fantastic start. There's something about us humans that we have this built-in propensity to problem solve, right? And actually just finding some of the problems and being aware of how unity is. Whenever I visit Galactic Federation ship, they do it so perfectly. They unify that before every meeting, they unify their hearts, and they're from around the universe. And you're like, some of them don't even really have a heart like we do, and you're like, this is incredible. We do have physical human hearts, and we can come together even more easily than some other races around the universe that have struggled to do it. See, I'm really excited.
Thank
I
you.
love what you're saying,
Oh,
John,
thank you.
because for me, I look at the lives of some of the people I admire and who are my spiritual counselors, or form part of my spiritual counsel. People like Martin Luther King, as an example. He did so much in his short life. And, he spoke about who we choose to become. And, it goes back to what you were saying, Natasha, to say we can really only change ourselves and connect with our life purpose. That becomes important. And so, us being here, for me, it's really about how can we support each other's expansion so that our work individually and collectively can have greater impact in the world. And that for me is what what purpose means in my life. How can I be impactful? Realizing that I cannot change people, realizing that we are all at very different stages of our and cycles of our lives. How can I demonstrate and embody the values I believe in, you know?
Mm.
And I find that the more I gravitate towards that, the more I am faithful to that inner knowing and yearning, the more the world expands for me and the vision I have for a humanity that is inspired by heart, you know?
Mhm.
So it's really inspiring to be in this conversation with both of you. And it is my hope that we can really help to expand each other's worlds, because the more we are able to touch each other, the more we are able to expand the reach of our individual work.
Beautiful. Perfect. Thank you so much. I absolutely love that. And I think that that is a great way to start these sessions moving forward, is actually bringing in a heart resonance. To all of us, and perhaps sending that out to humanity as well. And I love that, because I love that we're going to bring so many different viewpoints that will challenge us as well, that will expand us, that will help us grow, and so that we can in turn help humanity, help the people that we work with. And we all know that when we heal ourselves, we're healing the collective at the same time. And I think we're shifting our realities all at the same time. And yeah, I absolutely love that. Sometimes I jump into things not knowing why they're there, but just following that guidance. And yeah, I thank you both for being here. I thank all those that have said yes to this, even though they weren't able to make today. Um, but I think that is an amazing way to conclude our first session of these. I was wondering if, John, would you help us close by sinking into that heart resonance today, um, if you will, if you don't mind at all. And then we'll close off the first session today.
Sure. So a short meditation.
Just a very quick, short meditation, activating
Okay.
the heart center.
So if you'd like to join me now, we'll begin by taking a deep breath in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any fear, shame, anxiety, or pain, nice and loud. And as you allow your breath and your whole body to relax, place your hand on your heart if you choose to, connecting in with your inner love, your self-love, that beautiful, golden, divine spark in your heart. And gently allow your heart to soften and open within this safe space, just like the petals of a rose flower opening up to receive the sun energy. And as we open our hearts for this group, for all those that Natasha has invited in and that consent to this, I invite us all now to extend a cord of light from the center of our hearts to each of us in this group, forming as a circle, with your light extending from your heart to the right, to the person to your right, and so on around the group. As you feel it, receive it in your heart from the left. We come together at this time in unity. We come together as one human race, as one dream, as one hope, and one love. Thank you, dear souls.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, Mabato.
Thank you.
That was incredible. Yeah, what a beautiful visual I got for that, and people coming together. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you both for saying yes today. I think the next one, I'm looking to do the 14th of May or in and around there. I will send out the email. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Pleasure.